Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm writing about what my mother-in-law did to me and how I got her back for it. So, when will you get this inheritance, Emily? I heard it totals $25 million. You know we can have such a great life with that money. God, it's taking a long time to get processed. These words are my mother-in-law, Cassandra's open thoughts. Ever since I married Xavier, my mother-in-law kept pestering me about my inheritance. I stupidly told her about it when she asked me about my future. Yes, big mistake. She had always been friendly to me after that. I didn't think much of it, but sometimes her persistence annoyed me. My husband, Xavier, and father-in-law, Joshua, always told Cassandra off. They said, "Cassandra, you need to stop pestering her about the inheritance. It doesn't matter when or whether she gets it. It's none of our business." Yes, Mom, you're being super rude and annoying. We already have a pretty good life. Emily had a job and I have a good job as well. We are already supporting you and Dad financially. What more do you need? It's a lot of money, guys. You guys don't understand. We could have a much better lifestyle with it. We won't even have to live in this old house I inherited. Maybe we can get a mansion. Wow, Cassandra, you are getting carried away. I don't even know whether I will get the inheritance. The process is pretty complicated. Plus, how do you know I didn't lie about it? Maybe there is no inheritance after all. Everyone started to laugh while Cassandra immediately looked serious. She didn't look amused at all. Instead, she gave me the dirtiest look possible. After that day, she became the worst mother-in-law possible. She was rude, mean, and insulting. Her entire behavior towards me changed. Suddenly, she couldn't stand me anymore. I knew that she was a very greedy woman, so I thought my words must have offended her or angered her. Boy, I was not prepared for what she was about to do. This woman went crazy on me when she thought I was a middle-class girl with no big inheritance. A month or so later, Cassandra did something I never imagined she would do. That day, Joshua and Xavier were out for a fishing trip. I was in my room working on my laptop. When I was on break and went to the kitchen, Cassandra approached me with a disgusted expression on her face. She said in a horrible tone, "You need to come to my room right now. I need to talk to you in private. Don't keep me waiting. It's very important." "What is the matter, Cassandra? What's so important?" "Stop flapping your jaws and come to my room. I told you it's important." I was unsure why Cassandra was calling me to her room. Somewhere in the back of my mind, the conversation of a post-nup suddenly popped up. I was almost sure that this had something to do with the post-nup. I didn't want to stay in suspense for a long time, so I followed her upstairs to her room. Once I walked in, she locked the door behind me. She literally locked the door and held the keys in her hand. I was dumbfounded and said, "What the hell are you doing, Cassandra? What is the meaning of this?" "I'm locking you in my room, Emily. Don't worry. You need to do just one thing to get out. Sign these papers right now and you can leave." "Are you mad? This is ridiculous. You locked me in your room to make me sign some papers? What's so important to these documents?" "This is a post-nuptial agreement. I got it made by a lawyer. You need to sign this saying that you won't claim a cent from Xavier in case you two divorce." "What the hell, Cassandra? Why would I sign something like that?" "First of all, Xavier and I are not getting divorced." "Oh, we will see about that, Emily. You can leave that to me. For now, you do me a favor and sign these papers. You can go ahead and read it, but it won't do you any good. I won't let you leave without signing this." I took the papers from her hand and started to read. I was really curious to know how she had prepared the clauses of the agreement. I read through the terms and was shocked. It literally said that Xavier and I couldn't claim anything from each other in case of a divorce. Hell, I wasn't even allowed to get alimony or anything. There would be zero asset division, so we can only keep what we have our names on. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I was immediately angry. I said, "What is the meaning of this, Cassandra? We never talked about getting a prenup or postnup ever. Why did you suddenly make this?" "Things were different these years. I thought that you would get that $25 million inheritance so my son wouldn't need a prenup. But now I see that you are lying and gold-digging witch. You were useless to him and us. You will always be a financial burden to him. So you will sign this prenup, and then I will figure out how to get Xavier to leave you." "Oh, now I see, Cassandra. All these years you didn't want Xavier and yourselves to miss out on my inheritance, so you never talked about a prenup. Now that you heard that I won't get anything, you want me to give up my rights to my husband's assets. Nice plan you have there, Cassandra. Tell me, how will you convince Xavier to join you in this?" "I will make up some story or do something. It's easy for me. I can't let my son marry a beggar like you. He needs to divorce you and marry someone rich. Then me and my family would be able to live a life of luxury. I didn't raise him for years just so he could marry a parasite." "What are you even talking about? Xavier doesn't care if I don't have a large inheritance coming." "Well, I care, Emily. I care if you don't have a big inheritance coming. I let my son marry you because I thought you would help us have a better life. Now I see that you will actually spoil our life by being dependent on my son." I was getting furious with what Cassandra was saying. I was actually glad that I told her there was no inheritance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found out just how bad she was. Now I understand why Xavier and Joshua are always wary of Cassandra. She is freaking greedy and selfish. This woman literally has no regard for her son or her daughter-in-law. I highly doubt Xavier even knew about the postnup she wanted me to sign. I was ready to give her a piece of my mind. I knew she wouldn't let me leave if I didn't sign. So I let her feel powerful by making me sign the postnup. I said, "I don't want to sign a postnup, Cassandra. I need to protect myself too. If Xavier is in favor of a postnup, we will discuss it and get lawyers. I'm not signing whatever shit you're giving me." "Listen to me, Emily. I'm not letting you leave until you sign these papers. I can do this all day. Joshua and Xavier won't be back from their fishing trip anytime soon. And I know your boss is calling you to get back to work. Which is exactly why I need to leave. Now give me the keys so that I can get back to work. Enough is enough." This woman then had the audacity to grab my hand hard. It was starting to hurt. She started to scream in my ear about how I was a gold-digging witch and much worse. My anxiety immediately skyrocketed and I was on the edge. At the same time, my boss kept calling me to get back to my computer. I was starting to get really annoyed and frightened by Cassandra, so I gave in and signed as planned. Cassandra looked pleased with herself and finally let me go. As soon as the door was open, I dashed out and locked myself in the room. Then I called my boss and explained everything to her. She is a sweet lady who is appalled by what Cassandra has done. I told her that I might need some time off work to deal with my monster mother-in-law. She agreed and told me to take the day off. I then took pictures of the bruise that was forming from Cassandra's grabbing and holding me in her room. The more I looked at the mark, the angrier I became. Cassandra really crossed her limits today. I had no idea she was capable of this. I needed to take action and teach her a lesson. I didn't call Xavier that day because he and Joshua were far away. I didn't want to disturb them. Instead, I waited for them to return. Xavier and his father returned the next day in a good mood. They immediately became suspicious of me and Cassandra when we looked glum. They didn't know that we were upset for wholly different reasons. Xavier tried to ask me what was wrong. I told him to give me some time. Cassandra took that opportunity to call him and talk about the prenup. How did I know about this? Well, within a few minutes after Cassandra called Xavier over, he came storming downstairs. He looked pissed and said, "What the hell are these papers? Dad, Are you involved in this as well? What are you talking about, Xavier? What papers? I don't understand. It's a freaking post-nup that Mom made for me and my wife. It is absolutely ridiculous. I have nothing to do with this, Xavier. This is the first time I've heard something like this. Cassandra, what is going on? What will she say, Dad? She's only defending herself and nothing else. I'm protecting you and us, Xavier. This wife of yours is absolutely worthless. She will never help us have a better life. Instead, she will suck you dry. She's a gold digger, Xavier. She lied to you about her inheritance. What are you saying, Mom? What does Emily's inheritance have anything to do with us? You don't understand, Xavier. I know women like her. She will do something to hurt you and then take all your money in a divorce. You need to sign this post-nup and then divorce her when the time is right. Then you can look for a better woman who won't be absolutely broke. Xavier absolutely burst into a fit of rage when he heard that. He started to berate Cassandra and even Joshua joined him. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Xavier was a complete mama's boy, so I was unsure if he would take my side. But now I could see that not only Xavier but also Joshua was fighting for me. They didn't even know the truth about my inheritance. Xavier had assumed that there was some problem with my inheritance, so it won't come through. They didn't know that I actually received my inheritance yesterday. After fighting for a while, Xavier looked at me with a question in his eyes. He said, "Why did you sign the prenup, Emily? You should have waited for me to come and solve this. You knew I would never agree with something like that. Why did you let Mom get away with this?" I know you wouldn't have asked for a post-nup, Xavier. I trust you. You have always taken care of me without any conditions. I really did want to discuss the post-nup with you, but I wasn't allowed to do that. Cassandra cornered me and shut me in her room with herself. Then she grabbed me by my hand and wouldn't let go until I signed the papers. I didn't have a choice. I was forced to give my signature. Xavier and Joshua were stunned to hear what I said. What concerned them even more was that Cassandra didn't even deny it or try to defend herself. She looked awfully confident and proud of what she had done. Meanwhile, my husband and father-in-law were furious. They looked at me with disbelief until I showed them the marks on my arm. Then, the two of them jumped at Cassandra. They said, "Mom, what the hell have you done to Emily? How dare you touch my wife? This is freaking assault. You literally bruised her. Cassandra, you have gone absolutely insane. How the hell did you think this was the right way to behave?" "Why are you two yelling at me? I did what was right for my son. I couldn't have let this gold digger take advantage of him. I am your mother, Xavier. I did this with your best interest in my heart. You hurt my wife for me? That's what you're trying to say? How can you be so cruel? Just because Emily isn't getting her inheritance, that doesn't mean I will divorce her. I didn't freaking marry her for money." But you promised you would give us a better life, Xavier. You said you would allow us to live comfortably. How would that happen if you don't marry someone rich? Cassandra, what is wrong with you? Xavier and Emily both take excellent care of us. Why the hell are you so greedy? Is this life not enough for you? Of course not. I know we can do better only if Xavier marries someone rich. With his status and job, he can easily find someone rich. Just think of how better our life would be. At that point, Xavier and Joshua started to scream and yell at Cassandra. After arguing with them for some time, Cassandra finally realized that she had been backed into a corner. She realized that Joshua and Xavier wouldn't take her side, so she decided to manipulate them with tears. She started to cry out loudly and said, "How dare you make me the villain? I was only trying to do what was best for everyone. I want a better life and I deserve it. I let you all live in my house and this is how you repay me. You do realize that this house is now a marital asset and I am equally entitled to it, right? I have every right to be here." I made Emily move in here so that we can take care of you. We literally shoulder all of our and your expenses, Mom. No one here is freeloading at your house. Actually, you know what? After what you've done, I don't think I'll financially continue to support you anymore. I'm done. Me and Emily will move out next month. I plan to move out too, Cassandra. All these years I put up with your greedy behavior because you never escalated. But today, you have crossed all your limits by assaulting Emily and forcing her to sign a prenup. I don't want to be with such a vile woman right now. Dad, you can come with us if you want. I don't mind taking care of you. You are not the one who betrayed me and Emily. Oh, really, Xavier? How will you move out? Where will you go? This girl is broke as shit, so she won't be able to help you anyway. You'll be staying in a shitty rented apartment while she destroys your savings. I know this was my cue to deliver some sweet revenge to Cassandra. At this point, I knew that Cassandra needed a wake-up call to see how stupid she was, so before Xavier could say anything, I said, "You won't have to worry about that, Cassandra. I will be perfectly capable of housing all three of us. It won't be a problem at all." Don't make me laugh, Emily. You don't even have a good job that will feed all three of you. Without my house, you will have nowhere to go. You are nothing but a broke gold digger. Actually, no, I'm neither broke nor a gold digger. I am actually quite rich if you consider the $25 million that I have right now. I mean, not all of it is in money, but I do have plenty. What are you talking about? You said there was no inheritance, and you lied about it. I was bored and irritated with your pestering, Cassandra, so I jokingly said that there was no inheritance. I had no idea it would trigger you this bad and reveal your true face. Trust me, Cassandra. I am now grateful that I joked with you that day. Cassandra was absolutely dumbfounded by what I said. Even Xavier and Joshua were a little surprised by what I said. I saw that the wheels were turning in Cassandra's head already. She was trying to figure out what she could do to make me her friend again. She started to awkwardly laugh and said, "Oh my God, you were joking? You were so silly, Emily. I thought you were serious about not having an inheritance." "That was very naughty of you, Emily. You should have said that sooner. We could have avoided all this trouble." "Oh, really, Cassandra? If I told you that I was joking, you wouldn't have made the post-nup, right? And you wouldn't have tried to destroy my marriage, I guess." "I got a little carried away, Emily. I really shouldn't have been so harsh. God, I didn't even give you a chance to explain yourself. That was super rude of me. Here, see, I have torn up the post-nup. We don't have to worry about that anymore." "No, Cassandra, you don't have to worry about my inheritance anymore. There is no way I am ever having a relationship with you again. If Xavier is still okay with us moving out and cutting contact, I am in this as well." "Oh, we are definitely moving out, Emily. Mom has done enough to show us how greedy she is. I won't let her take advantage of you after all she has done. We will move by this month, and that's final. Dad will be going with us as well." Cassandra found herself in deep trouble this day. All three of us were firm in our decision to leave. Me and Xavier were already looking at houses and found one about 1 hour away. Within a month, we finalized the deal and were all set to move in. Buying a house and moving in within a month is super easy when you have money. Thankfully, we had plenty at that point. As decided, Joshua was also moving in with us. We were going to take care of him while he divorced Cassandra. Yes, he made that decision on his own and already filed for divorce that month itself. Cassandra did her best to convince us to stay. She begged us for forgiveness and even cried about her sorry state. She did own a house but didn't have any source of income. She couldn't even claim alimony because Joshua depended on Xavier for money. So neither Joshua nor Cassandra qualified for alimony. In a sick turn of events, Joshua ended up getting half ownership of Cassandra's house because it was acquired after marriage. This meant that she was forced to sell the place. She didn't have the money to buy Joshua out. It was hilarious to see Cassandra lose her own inheritance while trying to get a share of mine. Their divorce took a year because the judge ordered separation. Cassandra cried a lot because she didn't have money to feed herself. She had to sell the house fast to get the money to support herself. Still, she needed to get a job and earn money. Meanwhile, as soon as the divorce was finalized and Joshua got his money, he moved into a small apartment. He didn't want to intrude on our privacy, so he moved out. But we still support him financially because we can.
Hello, I'm Nora and I'm a 35-year-old woman. Today I want to tell you about an experience I had that left me feeling shocked and angry. But before I get into the story, let me tell you about how I came to own my own home. When I was in my early 20s, right after I graduated college, my parents got into a horrific car crash. My mom passed away on impact while my dad was rushed to hospital where he was alive for about a month. Somewhere in that month, my dad gained consciousness and asked for a lawyer. He wrote up his will, and in the will, he stated that I would get the house as soon as I got married. I didn't debate anything. I was too distraught to care about what I would get in case my dad left me. I just wanted him alive. I hadn't ever imagined my parents leaving me this young. I remember that when my dad gained consciousness, I was so happy. I thought he would definitely live. But shortly after writing his will, he suffered a cardiac arrest and was gone. I was inconsolable. Relatives from all over flew in to attend the funeral and offer me support. My parents had left me a good amount of money, and that, along with the money I was earning from my job, allowed me to rent a pretty cozy apartment. I wasn't really crazy about the idea of marriage, and I didn't think that I wanted my parents' house that bad yet. I didn't want to live in constant memory of their absence, so I didn't pursue a relationship for a very long time. I think it was in my late 20s that I happened to meet my husband, Sal. Sal and I lived in the same apartment complex. He had just moved in and I happened to run into him in the lobby. He was struggling to carry his bags and I helped him out. We got to talking after that, and talking eventually turned into going on dates. Living in the same complex made staying over at each other's place even easier. Since we were both older and knew what we were looking for, I guess we just knew that we were forever. About a year into dating, Sal asked me to marry him. Since we were already engaged, I realized I hadn't met Sal's parents at all. I knew that I would have loved to take Sal to meet my parents if I had the chance to, so I asked him about it. Sal was more than ready to introduce me to his parents. Although he did warn me that his parents were very traditional and conservative, I didn't mind. I just wanted to be fully involved in Sal's life. The day I met Sal's parents, I actually understood what Sal meant when he described his parents. His mother was silent and never made eye contact with anyone, while his dad literally commanded the room. Whatever his father wanted, his mother ran to give it to him. I found it odd, but I just figured whatever worked for them. Then Sal's dad, Jeff, asked what arrangement we planned to pursue after marriage. "So, how do you guys plan on working after marriage?" "What do you mean?" "As in, will you keep working or will you become a housewife?" We were discussing me becoming a stay-at-home wife because Sal makes way more than I do." "Good. That's how it should be. Women shouldn't even be allowed to work. Their role is to be at home and make sure everything is perfect for their hard-working husbands." "Dad!" "Excuse me? But I think that's a very outdated view. Women are allowed to do whatever we want because we have proven over and over again how competent we are. So gender shouldn't have to be a factor that determines our worth." Say what you want. Women belong in the kitchen and that's it. I'm sure Sal will put you in your place eventually. I chose not to say anything because I didn't want to cause any drama right before Sal and I got married. But I was wildly uncomfortable. I didn't participate much in conversation after that. I felt bad for Sal's mother. Poor thing was worked to the bone, and I don't think she ever received a word of thanks in her entire life. Sal saw how uncomfortable I was and made an excuse to leave immediately. He told his dad that we had to move into our new place the next day, so we had to get as much sleep as we could. I awkwardly bid goodbye to them and was relieved when we were out of their presence. Of course, Sal was apologetic for his dad's behavior, but honestly, I was just glad that Sal was nothing like him. Sal told me that he watched his mother suffer and promised himself that he would never treat his wife that way. The next time I saw Sal's parents was at our wedding. I made as little contact with them as possible, although I heard from some guests later that Sal's dad had a lot of problems with the dress I was wearing because it was too revealing and not very wifely. Again, I didn't want to ruin family relations that early into the relationship, so I didn't say anything, nor did I let Sal say anything. The next 2 years were amazing. I got to create a lot more happy memories in the house I grew up in. It felt like I was at peace with everything that happened, and I was accepting my reality a lot better. And then one night, Jeff called us to tell us that Sal's mother had passed away suddenly in her sleep. He didn't want an autopsy done, so we just went over for the funeral. Sal was inconsolable, but I was there with him throughout. At the wake, Jeff asked us if we would be willing to let him stay with us for a month because he wasn't ready to go back to an empty house. Sal and I excused ourselves to talk over it. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I don't know if it's a smart idea to let my dad into our house for so long. Sal, your mom died and your dad is struggling. A month isn't that long. I know, it's just, you know how he is. I don't want him to say or do something that will hurt you. You're my first priority. Oh, I doubt he'll do anything like that. Please, my mom probably passed away because she was tired of living with him. I know you're grieving, but that's a really rude thing to say. Maybe your dad will learn how lucky he had been with your mom and he'll change. I don't know. It's just a month, okay? It'll be over before you know it. Fine, but I'll be at work most of the time. So if he does or says something hurtful, I give you full permission to do or say whatever you want, okay? Got it. Letting Jeff move in was more than a big mistake. The evil stepmother from Cinderella had nothing on Jeff. He was demanding and controlling. He would have me clean everything twice a day. If I didn't do it, I would have to hear him yell and grumble all day long. Sal and I usually trade off cooking during the week. We alternate it, mostly because we both have very different tastes in food, and we like to introduce each other to new tastes. Well, Jeff didn't like that. He demanded that I make the food because I was the wife and I lived under Sal's roof. I don't think he knew that the house was mine, but I wasn't about to break the news to him when he was already going through a tough time. I had a feeling that it would break him. If Sal made the food, he would not eat. If he wasn't grieving the loss of his wife, I would never have accommodated him. Sometimes I would even surprise me while I did the work he forced me to do. During those times, he would compare me to his wife and how his son deserved someone as submissive as her. One time I made the mistake of rolling my eyes at him while he recounted a story about how his wife had made food for him as soon as she had come home from giving birth to Sal. Needless to say, Jeff lashed out at me really hard. Sal told me over and over again to talk back. Whenever Jeff did or say anything while Sal was around, Sal would immediately put his dad back in his place. Jeff didn't like that. He thought I had brainwashed his son into believing that he had to do womanly chores. Speaking of womanly chores, I remember how appalled he was when he saw me assembling this bookshelf I bought from scratch. He yelled at me for emasculating his son. The only reason I didn't say anything was because I knew that Jeff needed a place to stay and needed to grieve the loss of his wife. I just thought that this was his way of processing her loss. Plus, Jeff was family and I didn't want to abandon him like that. Eventually, his 1 month at our place was up. As soon as Jeff left, Sal and I sighed a huge breath of relief. Bet you're glad he's gone, huh? I have to admit I am. Although, what? Your dad didn't seem to know that this house was under my name. He didn't? No, that's why he kept making me do things. I thought it was because you were a woman. Oh yeah, that was part of it too, but he would keep bringing up how I was living under your roof. Well, if he ever stays over again, which I hope doesn't happen for a very long time, you have my full permission to tell him that this house is yours. Are you sure? I feel like that will kind of make him really angry. Who cares? He doesn't care about how you feel. Give him a taste of his own medicine. We'll see. If he does anything that upsets or angers me, I'll do it then. Sal and I enjoyed a blissful year free of Jeff. Sal would call Jeff every once in a while to check up on him, but that was about it. Of course, Jeff would try to ask Sal if I was doing my wifely duties, but Sal would cut him off by making up some excuse about being busy and hanging up the phone. I think that was the reason for Jeff to do what he did next. He must have thought I wasn't doing my work or something and decided to take matters into his own hands. One night, Jeff wasn't feeling too good, so he drove himself to the hospital. Jeff had struggled for years with joint pain but refused to see a doctor about it. Anyway, that night, his pain was too much for him to bear and he went to the doctor. He was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. He was prescribed this treatment and was asked to be with someone to help him out. So Jeff reached out to Sal and told him to house him for the next few months until the treatment was done. Let me be a little clear. Jeff didn't ask Sal if he could stay with us. No, he told Sal that he had to house him. Sal was peeved about it, but I convinced him to let his dad stay with us. Sal wasn't very enthusiastic about it, but I reminded him that his dad was struggling, so it was the least he could do. By the next week, we were once again housing Jeff. He arrived at our place in the morning and he barely looked my way. I was the one that opened the door for him and he just walked right by. I tried to pick his bags up, but he just growled at me and asked Sal to pick his bags up. We were annoyed, but this was going to be our life for the next few months, so we had to put up with it. Well, unsurprisingly, Jeff went right back up to his routine from a year ago. He demanded I clean everything and yelled at me for not preparing the house for his arrival. He had Sal take him to the hospital to get his treatment and demanded that the house be cleaned and food be made by the time he came back. Sal was not taking any of his crap, so after they left, Sal texted me and told me to go out and enjoy myself. He told me that we'd order takeout and his dad would just deal with it. I was happy. I didn't mind. I thought, what would Jeff even do if I didn't do what he asked? Yell? Ha! Like I haven't heard enough. Well, I was kind of wrong. I checked in on some of my friends and asked if any of them were free to grab some lunch. A couple were, so I went out and enjoyed my time. When I got home, Sal and Jeff were back. Sal greeted me with a hug and a kiss. He asked me how my day was and happily listened to me. Jeff, on the other hand, looked furious, but surprisingly, he said nothing. I had to admit I did find that very suspicious, but I let it go because I was happy to not have to listen to him yell at me. That night, when Sal and I were getting ready for bed, Sal confessed to me that he had had a word with his father. I have to say I'm surprised that Jeff didn't say anything about me not doing his work today. Oh yeah, I spoke to him about it. What did you say? I just told him to watch his mouth or he'd get thrown out of the house. Sal, that's so rude. That's what he said too. But I also told him to be grateful that we're housing him and that it wouldn't kill him to be nicer to you. I can't believe that he actually listened to you. I know, right? Even I couldn't believe it. Well, if this lasts, we'll be able to live in peace. Oh yeah, I hope it does. I had naively thought Jeff had seen the error in his ways. I was actually really happy about it. I was hoping that Jeff and I would be able to build a better relationship now, but that obviously wasn't about to happen. The next morning, Sal and I headed out to do a little grocery shopping. When we returned, we were greeted by Jeff surrounded by my suitcases. Jeff, why do you have my suitcases? How did you even get them? Oh, they were under your bed and I just packed them for you. Excuse me? Son, I've been trying to tell you this for the longest time. You deserve someone better than this lazy woman who's just bumming off of you. She's not bumming off of me. What makes you think she's doing that? Oh, please. She never does any work around the house. She chooses to do all the masculine work instead of cooking you dinner. You have to eat food from out or cook it yourself to not starve. That's not how a good wife works. But I do cook and clean. I just don't do it as frequently as you'd like me to. Besides, Sal isn't a baby. Cooking food every once in a while isn't going to kill him. Son, do you see how she talks to your father? This is why I want you out of my son's house. What makes you think this is your son's house? Of course it is. He's the one that's working his butt off while you sit at home and look pretty. Oh, I agree he works hard, but he does not own this house. I do. Ha! You're lying. You'll really do anything to throw my son under the bus. I'm not lying. Ask Sal yourself. Son, she's not lying. She's had this house before we were even in a relationship. What? Oh, I'm so sorry, Nora. Save it, Jeff. Anyway, we waited those 2 weeks so that the effects of the treatments would kick in. Jeff barely experienced any pain and was actually looking a lot better. So one day, when he approached me to apologize, I finally spoke to him. Nora, please, just hear me out. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Thank you. I just wanted to apologize for the way I behaved. I didn't know that this house was under my name. And if it wasn't, you would never have apologized and you would have actually tried to kick me out of the house, right? Nora, please, I made a mistake. No, Jeff, I made a mistake. I made a mistake of letting you in my home again after the last time and thinking that you would have changed. So I've made a decision. Please don't kick me out. I won't kick you out under one condition. Is this really how you treat family? You set conditions for them to live with you? I don't think you get to lecture me about how to treat family, Jeff. My only condition is that you have to be the one that cleans up the common areas, so that's the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room. For every day that you don't, you have to pay me a day's worth of rent. That's outrageous! You can't expect me to do all that when I'm suffering. If your wife could do it right after giving birth, so can you. You either do it or you get out. Where's my son? I'm sure he'll be against this. Oh no, he's fully on board with this, so good luck. I left Jeff standing there and didn't interact with him again for a while. From what Sal told me, Jeff tried to talk to him about it, but Sal just told him that it was my house and my rules. Ha! It was Jeff's ideology thrown right back at him. Anyways, Jeff reached out to various other family members to complain about how we were abusing him. A lot of them reached out to us and called us a lot of names, but we stood our ground and told them the full story. We also told them that if they truly felt that passionate about Jeff, they could be the ones to look after him. Some of them apologized and gave Jeff a good lashing out for yelling, while others just left me on read. Either way, I was left with peace again. Jeff tried to stick to the plan, but couldn't because of how tiring it was. I asked him if he understood just what he was expecting of me. He scowled at me and told me that since I'm a woman, my body was made to handle these kinds of work. I didn't want to deal with him any longer, and so I told him to pack his bags and get out of my house. Jeff said he gladly would, and the next day he was out of our hair again. He had gone to stay with a friend of his until his treatment was done. He called Sal a couple of days later to tell him that he would not get his house as part of his inheritance. Sal told Jeff to keep his house because he had a better one with me and ended the call with that. I did feel bad that I had ruined Sal's relationship with his dad, but Sal assured me that his dad was the one who ruined it and not me. Now, Sal and I live a comfortable and happier life. I don't have to deal with any yelling or nagging. Last I heard of Jeff, he got kicked out of his friend's house too for being a nuisance. I think he stayed with some other family after. I hope he'll be better for his sake, really. Anyways, I guess I just wanted to tell you this story because sometimes you have to put your foot down regardless of who might get hurt. Sometimes it's family that treats you the worst. And you need to set a healthy boundary so you don't get used or humiliated. Always stand up for yourself and those that love you. Thank you for listening.
Hello guys, my name's Evelyn and this story is about my disastrous marriage to my husband Cole. I will be using fake names and sorry for that. I can be easily recognized, which I don't want at all. A lot of details here are unknown to people around me and I want it to stay that way. I'm getting old and I don't want to be the center of gossip again. Just wanted to share my story with you guys as a cathartic experience. I married Cole when I was 38. Before that, I had an amazing husband who died from a rare heart condition. He was the love of my life and I still grieve for him sometimes. We never had kids because I am actually infertile. I don't have any regrets though. God sent me an amazing stepson, Sean, who is the son of Cole. Cole and I met through a work event. He had a high-paying job while I was newly taking over my late husband's business. Now, let me just say that my late husband was hella rich. He built his business from scratch and took it to the highest level. After his death, I inherited all of his assets since he was an orphan with no family. So you can say that I was rich as well. Well, Cole and I developed a nice friendship before finally dating after 2 years. We got married soon and lived a good life. However, his ex-wife Riley had always been a point of contention. She was invited to our wedding because of Sean, but she looked sour the entire time. She told me, "Don't think so highly of yourself, Evelyn. Cole doesn't love you at all. I'm the only love of his life. He's marrying you because of your money." "That's wrong, Riley. Cole loves me and I love him too. He has a good job and doesn't need my money." "Yes, he does have a good job, but it was never enough for him. He always wanted more. That's why he left me, you know. I wasn't able to get a nice job and was draining his resources. But don't you worry. I am all set to receive a big inheritance soon. After that, I will have Cole back to me." I was alarmed at Riley's words, but didn't take her seriously. I thought that I knew Cole well enough to disregard her horrible words. I chalked her up to being jealous and obsessed with Cole. Well, I was right about that, but I had misjudged Cole. I didn't know that yet. I only put up with her because of Sean. Now, I won't say that Sean was very fond of his own mother. Why? Because she used him to make Cole stay with her.
The poor kid was being used by his mother. That is why, when he got me, he was finally happy to have someone who loved him. The wedding was over and my life progressed perfectly. The trouble started just 2 years after our marriage. Riley suddenly inherited a huge estate and a big mansion from a distant uncle. Cole was shocked to hear this news. He said, "Damn it, why did Riley have to receive such a big inheritance now? She didn't have a penny when we were married." "Who cares, Cole? You are not in that toxic relationship anymore. You are with me. Yes, I am happy that Sean will have a better life now." "Riley won't be spending all her money on Sean. I wonder what she will do with the rest. There is so much she could do. I know she'll invest it and make her fortune bigger. She couldn't do that when we were married." Cole started to obsess over Riley's fortune. It was bizarre and super frustrating for me. I had no idea why he was so obsessed with her money. We did not want money anyway. I had a large fortune and we were living comfortably. Yes, I did sign a prenup and refused to put Cole's name on my house, so Cole had been a little pissed at me for a while. I just thought that he was frustrated, but I didn't know that he was secretly going out with Riley. No, there was no affair. I checked that already, but he often went to expensive places with her and Sean. He always said, "I'm doing this for Sean, Evelyn. He deserves to have his two parents together at times. Why is this such a big deal?" "You are canceling our date plans and hanging out with her, Cole. Sean doesn't even want to go that often. He has said so himself. Still, you keep pushing him and spending more time with Riley. It's making me uncomfortable." "You are such a jealous and insecure woman, Evelyn. Stop being such a nag. Sean likes to go out with us. Don't tell lies." I wasn't lying. Sean often complained that his parents take him to dinner and then just talk between themselves. He was left out and sat in silence. He didn't even get a say in where they would go. Riley always made Cole choose and did whatever he said. Me and Cole had countless arguments about this, but I stupidly stayed with him. I thought that maybe Cole was really telling the truth, and he was only doing this for Sean. He wasn't, of course. All this came to a head when Riley was diagnosed with a terminal illness. She was admitted to the hospital where Sean and Cole both went to visit. The doctor said that the prognosis wasn't good and she only had up to a year to live. Sean was devastated, of course, and even Cole was upset. I felt bad for Riley too. It's not easy to digest this information after all. Sean and Cole both regularly visited the hospital until she was discharged. A day before she was discharged, I came home from work to see Cole packing his bags. I was confused because he had more bags than needed for a business trip. I said, "Hey, Cole, what's up? Why are you packing your stuff? Are you going on a business trip?" "I'll be moving in with Riley tomorrow, and I'll also be filing for divorce." "What? What are you even talking about, Cole? Why would you do that? Please, tell me what's going on. This is ridiculous." "No, this is not ridiculous, Evelyn. Riley gave me an amazing offer. I think it is in my best interest to move in with her now. You made me sign a prenup and didn't have my name on your properties. Well, guess what, Evelyn? Riley has promised to do that for me." "What? Riley promised to give her estate to you? This can't be real. Are you sure she's not tricking you, Cole?" "No, Riley is not tricking me. She is my one true love and the best wife ever. She trusts me. With her $20 million estate, she is a way better wife than you. I regret ever marrying you in the first place. If Riley had gotten her inheritance sooner, I wouldn't have left her at all." Guys, I can't describe to you what was going through my head at that point. I felt like my entire life was a lie. Riley was right all along. Sean was also right all the while. None of them were making up lies about Cole. He didn't love me. He married me only for money. It wasn't just a dig at me and my average looks. It was the truth. Cole didn't love me at all. He threw me out of his life the moment he got a better deal from Riley. I can't believe I loved and cherished this man. Instead of sadness, hatred and anger were brewing inside me. I wanted to scream at him and call him names, but I didn't do any of that. I silently listened to him rant and left when he was done. I went to the kitchen and started to cry. Cole was still packing in our room and I didn't want to be there anymore. I felt used and was even disgusted with myself. That's when Sean came and sat beside me. He was looking down at his feet, not saying anything. I took a few minutes to compose myself. Then I said, "So, you know about Cole and Riley then? Cole is in our room packing his bags. Your mom has managed to get him back after all. Money and property was all it took. God, I am so dumb and stupid." "Don't say that, Evelyn. You're not dumb or stupid. You are the only person who cared about me. All my own mother did was use me to get back Dad. And my dad knows nothing beyond money. You have no idea how much your love and care means to me." "Thank you for telling me that, Sean. I really do love you like my own son. That will never change, even if your dad moves out. You can always come back here. You are my son and I love you. Always remember that." "Thanks, Evelyn. You have no idea how much it makes me happy to hear that. My dad is an idiot who lost such an amazing woman like you. He will regret his choice. Just wait." "I'm sure he won't, Sean. You are right. Only money makes your dad happy. Now that he knows that he has a big fortune coming, he will never be unhappy. He will have a 20 million in assets after all." Suddenly, Sean started to laugh through his tears. No, this was not sad laughter at all. He laughed like he found my words super hilarious. I looked at him confused and tried to understand why he was laughing. He stopped suddenly and said, "Where did you get such ridiculous news, Evelyn? My dad has a single house to his name and nothing else." "No, he doesn't, but your mom does have a $20 million estate. She has promised to give it all to Cole if he moves in with her. That's why he's leaving so suddenly." "Oh God, Evelyn, I should have known that you were in the dark. My mom is nothing but a scheming witch. Do you know why Mom said that? Because she wants to win against you, and she always wanted him back." "Yes, but Cole will profit a lot out of this deal. He will get her assets after all. I'm confused as to why she's not leaving you anything." "What will she leave me, Evelyn? My mom is broke as shit. She doesn't have money at all. In fact, she has a ton of debts, some from her horrible spending habits and some from her medical expenses. There are no 20 million estates anymore. All of it will be sold to be paid as debt after she dies. If Dad is stupid enough to sign whatever she gives, he will end up shouldering an extra 5 million in debt, actually." I was shocked by what Sean told me. It all started to make sense why Riley wasn't leaving Cole anything. She had nothing but debts to leave. I guess she wanted Cole to shoulder everything while also showing that she won by getting him back. Riley truly was a big mastermind. She knew exactly how to use people to get her way. I started to admire her sharp thinking. I said, "Wow, your mother is something else, Sean. Now everything is making sense. So Cole has no idea about her debts?" "Not at all. She never told her about all the things she did. She didn't want Dad to move away from her. Dad would have run if he knew that she had only debts." "And you are not going to tell him?" "No. Evelyn, I am not going to tell him. In my mind, he deserves what's coming. I gave you this information so that you can decide if you want him to know. So, do you want to tell him?" Sean's question swarmed my mind. Did I really want to warn Cole about what he was getting himself into? Did I want to give him a chance to save himself? Well, the simple answer is no. I didn't want to tell him. He married me for money and left me for money. He played with my feelings and betrayed me. I wasn't going to forgive him. I wanted revenge and I wanted him to suffer. I made up my mind and said, "No, Sean, I don't want to tell him. I'm done with him treating women like they're disposable. And I want him to pay for what he did to me and you. I want karma to come for him." That's what I also want, Evelyn. I'm glad you finally made the right decision. I am with you on this. It's time we get our revenge, isn't it? He has made us suffer a lot and used us for his own benefit. Together, we will see him pay for his sins. Sean had a gleam in his eyes when I said that. He was waiting for his dad's schemes to backfire on him. He still wanted me to have the chance to decide what to do. He knew that I loved Cole and would probably be hurt seeing him suffer, but I was done with that man too. The next day, Cole moved to Riley's place early in the morning. I saw him go and didn't shed a single tear. He didn't even say goodbye because he was in a hurry to get his assets. I didn't care, of course. By then, I already knew what a vile and disgusting man he was. I was happy to have him out of my house. I took this chance to file for divorce and used all the evidence I had against him. Meanwhile, Riley was having a gala time with Cole in the house with her. She texted me a selfie of her with Cole and said, "You see this, Evelyn? I finally got my man back. No matter what, Cole will always love me. You were only a temporary distraction for him. At the end of the day, he was bound to come back to me." Congratulations on finding your lost love, Riley. I'm happy to see that you have finally got what you wanted. It would have pained me to see you die without having what you wanted. Thanks for taking him off my hands, Riley. Just make sure he signs the divorce papers as soon as possible. Maybe then you'll even get a wedding before you pass. Oh, don't you worry about that, Evelyn. I have all those plans in mind. Once you send those divorce papers over, he will sign them ASAP. I'm just afraid you'll make things difficult. You can be assured, Riley, I won't make things difficult at all. I just don't want to give him alimony or any of my assets. Plus, I want custody of Sean as well. I was in his life for 5 years and I deserve it. Riley agreed to my conditions and promised to send Cole over to a neutral location to talk. I was surprised that she gave up custody of Sean so easily. I guess now that she had Cole, she didn't need her son as a pawn anymore. Riley and Cole were equally disgusting people, but I wasn't about to tell them that just yet. I didn't want to slip and tell the truth to Cole. Anyway, I thanked Riley for cooperating and asked to send Cole over to finalize everything. Cole came over and agreed to all my demands. I didn't ask anything from him, and he wanted to get divorced fast. I guess he was afraid he would have to share his new assets with me. I was laughing inside while he kept specifying that he would never give me a penny from Riley's estate. In the end, the process was swift and we both signed the papers. Days passed and the judge gave us 6 months of separation. Those 6 months also passed in a jiffy. Sean alternated between staying at his mother's house and staying with me. I was okay with the arrangement since Riley didn't have much time left anyway. So 2 months after my divorce, Riley passed away. She married Cole just a month before to flaunt her man-stealing skills to the world. Not my words, these are her own. Her literal caption was, "I can steal my man back just fine." Good for her, I guess. So the funeral was over and I was apparently invited as well. Riley thought that it would be a last slap on my face as Cole would praise her and say kind words about her at the funeral. Neither of those happened. As soon as Riley passed, Cole was confronted with the truth of the situation. He stupidly avoided getting a lawyer to see what he was signing up for. He became her power of attorney and bore all her responsibilities in the end. And somehow he also took over the responsibility of the loan. Now he realized that he would have to sell the entire estate and then pay $5 million out of his pocket. He was not thrilled at all. He stormed out of the funeral even before the services were over. Me and Sean stayed to pay our respects and returned home only to find Cole there as well. He said, I messed up big time, Evelyn. Riley played me like a fiddle. Yes, she gave me her assets, but she also made me sign over her debts. I had no idea. Now I have a $5 million debt. I'm ruined. Oh, I'm aware of that, Cole. I have known about it all along. You walked into a trap. What? You knew about the debt? Then why didn't you tell me, Evelyn? I would have been saved. What makes you think I would be interested in saving you? You betrayed me and moved in with Riley. You showed me what a gold digger you are. All those years you faked your love for me when all you wanted was my money. You think I would want to save you even after all this? Are you insane? Cole heard this and started to cry. He finally understood how badly he had messed up and how much he had lost. His craze for Riley's property revealed his gold-digging side to me. Now he had no way of arguing with me, so he cowardly resorted to begging and pleading, not to mention lots of crying as well. He kept saying, "I'm so sorry, Evelyn. I'm so sorry for everything. I shouldn't have done this." Sorry for what, Cole? For using me for money or abandoning me when you found a better deal? Which one are you sorry about? For everything, Evelyn. I beg for your forgiveness. Your love for me was real. Don't tell me it's all gone. Please give me a chance. I'll make things right. Don't make me laugh, Cole. There is no way in hell you will ever change. You only want me back because I have the means to get rid of your debt. Nothing else. Please, Evelyn, think about Sean. How will I take care of him if you don't help me out? I know you love him like a son. At least think about this. This sparked a round of laughter and applause from Sean himself. He understood the irony of the situation, how his father was now using him as a bargaining tool. I knew well enough that I didn't need to help Cole to help Sean. Sean said, "So, you're using me as a bargaining chip. Suddenly you remember that there is a son you can use for your own benefit?" "I'm not using you, Sean. I'm simply looking out for you. I am the only parent you have right now since your mother is already dead. I want the best for you. This is not about me." You are not his only parent, Cole. I'm also his mother. He is also my son. You don't have to worry about Sean. He will be staying with me full time. I will take over all of his expenses. I won't need child support from you. And I turn 18 in a few months. After that, I won't need you at all, Dad. I'm perfectly capable of earning for myself even if Evelyn can't support me. Besides, I don't want you in my life anyway. Evelyn cares about me more than you anyway. Suddenly it hit Cole that he had lost his wife, his son, and his money at the same time, and he had no one besides him anymore. He was in a very deep hole that he had dug for himself. He started to cry again and plead for mercy. He made a lot of promises which we all knew were fake. Anyway, after wasting my time for a while, I told him to get off my property and never come back. Cole left, but only after I threatened him with the police. In the months that passed, Sean stayed with me permanently. I managed to make a college fund for him so that he could pursue his dreams. He is a bright student and got into an Ivy League college. I'm so proud of him. He is now completely cut off from Cole by his own will and doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. Cole had to sell his only property to meet the debts left over. It wasn't enough, of course, and he is still paying Riley's debt. He is close to filing for bankruptcy and doesn't know what to do. I'm living my best life with work and with my new dating life. Sean visits me on his breaks and even brings his longtime girlfriend along. She's a sweet girl and I really hope they get married someday. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the outcome and am now living life in peace. Hello guys, my name's Jean and my husband is Zach. I'm using fake names for this story because I don't want to get identified. Let's just say that I like my privacy a bit. Anyway, this story is about my entitled and downright crazy sister-in-law, Sarah. This woman has been the bane of my existence since day one. She hated me and hated the fact that her brother got married before her. After our engagement, she threw multiple fits to get us to cancel our wedding. Thankfully, none of the people around her were on her side. On our wedding day, she took the microphone and announced her engagement to everyone. She even decided to cut our wedding cake before we could. These are just some examples of what Sarah is like. Zach and her parents always spoke against her, but my husband never cut her off. She was his only sibling, so Zach didn't have the heart to abandon her. We had countless fights about this, but never resolved. Her behavior always escalated and caused trouble for us. She never apologized for creating problems or improved her behavior. Even Sarah's fiancé, Cole, was tired of apologizing to us on her behalf. Sarah was overall a very bad person who made my life hell. But I wasn't prepared for just how crazy she was. It all started on the day I announced my pregnancy to her and my in-laws. We already had the baby's gender and decided to reveal it at a family dinner. Everyone was, of course, happy for us and super excited. But Sarah absolutely lost her damn mind. She said, No, there is no freaking way. You are not having a kid before me. This cannot be happening. Sarah, why are you saying stuff like this? It's not a competition to have children. You will have one too when it's the right time. Yes, it's a competition, Zach. I am older than you and deserve to have the first kid in this family. Your witch wife is not taking that away from me. It's bad enough that you got married before me. Sarah, there is no harm in getting married or having a child later. Our child wasn't planned anyway, but we are happy to have him now. Listen to me, Jean. You are not having a child before me. I won't allow it. You need to do something to make this right. You will not have this child. Are you insane, Sarah? What the hell do you want me to do? Make a time machine and go back to the past? You will get rid of it, Jean. I allowed you to get married to my brother, but I won't allow this. You will not have a child first. You will wait till I have my one child. I was baffled by Sarah's horrendous solution to her own problem. I was trying very hard to understand if she was joking or not. She told me to get rid of my child so that she could have the first baby in the family. I was freaking shocked and mad. Judging by the faces of everyone else in the room, they were shocked as well. Zach said, Sarah, this child will be your nephew. How can you say these things about your own blood? I don't care if he is my own blood. I don't want him to be born. It's still early and very few people know. You can get rid of it very easily. Absolutely not, Sarah. We are not getting rid of our child because of your self-created problems. We cannot do that. Yes, you will do that. If you can't do it on your own, I will drag you to a clinic and make you do it. Hell, I will even pay for the entire thing. What the hell is wrong with you? What are you even saying? You should be happy for them, not tell them to get rid of the baby? Suddenly, Sarah was being confronted by everyone in the family. Zach was more heartbroken than mad. Even my in-laws were berating their daughter for being such a horrible person. The entire ambience turned so bad that I and Zach left early. On our way to the house, I made it clear that I wanted nothing to do with Sarah anymore. This time, Zach agreed with me. I was happy that he was finally doing something to stop his wicked sister from ruining our lives. But Zach did 180 within the next 3 months. Sarah didn't reach out to us in these 3 months, so the piece got to Zach's head. He said, Jean, I've been thinking for a while. I think it's time we allow Sarah back into our lives. Why the hell would we do that, Zach? Are you even hearing yourself? Look, I know that you think my sister's crazy and I have my doubts as well, but She hasn't said or done anything in the past 3 months. I really want our child to know their Aunt Jean. She is my only sister. Yes, your only sister who wanted us to get rid of her nephew. Your logic is impeccable, Zach. What happened is in the past now, Jean. I'm sure she has had time to calm down and rethink things. Mom and Dad are also saying that she has come around. Maybe we can give her a chance. Why don't we meet her at the family dinner next week? It's cruel to ask Mom and Dad not to invite her. We can't keep skipping family dinners just because she's there. Zach and I had a long discussion and a mild argument about his logic. However, I could tell that he was determined to bring Sarah back into our lives. I was not on board with his logic, but thought that I could give Sarah a last chance. Besides, I didn't want Zach to blame me for separating him and our son from Sarah, so I agreed to give her a chance. Don't worry, I also promised myself to be cautious. I didn't trust Sarah at all, especially after her outburst. Well, turns out I was right not to trust Sarah. We had the dinner planned and everyone was excited. Even Zach was excited because he thought that this time he would get a positive reaction out of Sarah. I highly doubt that and was proved right a day before the party. It was Cole who called me with the bad news. He said, "Sorry for disturbing you, Jean. I know you're having a hard time with this pregnancy and I don't want to stress you out anymore, but I needed to tell you something." "What is it, Cole? You sound very upset. You can tell me what's going on." "It's about Sarah, Jean. She's been making plans to sabotage your pregnancy. I'm afraid she wants to hurt your child." "What do you mean, Cole? This is a very serious accusation. You need to tell me everything." "Sarah has told her parents about bringing cupcakes to the dinner. What she didn't tell them is that she has planned to put aspirin in your cupcakes. She knows that the doctor advised you against taking aspirin, and she knows what will happen if you do." So, Sarah wanted to make aspirin-laced cupcakes for me. This woman went to the extent of making a special dish solely to make me lose my baby. When Sarah's fiancé told me about this, I was freaking horrified. He said that he tried his best to stop Sarah from being so vindictive, but he was unsure if Sarah would listen to him at all. He was already getting super frustrated with her and said, "I can understand why you're speechless, Jean. You might think that I'm making stuff up. Believe me, I would have been relieved if this was a joke. Unfortunately, it's not. This has been haunting me for a while, Jean. I knew I needed to tell you." "It's all right, Cole. I really appreciate that you told me about this. You did the right thing. It is difficult to believe that Sarah would go to this extent, but you never know how bad people can be." "Trust me, Jean. I'm horrified by Sarah. I'm thinking long and hard about whether I want to stay with such a sick and twisted person." "I can understand that, Cole. If I were in your shoes, I would have second thoughts too. She's acting like an insane woman. It's downright scary." "I knew that, Jean. I have been with her for 5 years. There is a reason why I waited so long to propose to her. I genuinely thought that she was improving. However, now I see that she hasn't improved one bit." "Look, Cole, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. That is totally up to you. But you need to rethink this relationship for good, or maybe push Sarah for therapy. Anyway, thanks again for telling me, Cole. I will always remember what you did for me today." I said that and hung up. What Cole didn't see was that I was on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. I was alone at home and extremely hormonal. Still, I tried to concentrate on my breathing and stay calm for the sake of my child. There was no way I would do anything to hurt my child. I calmed myself down even though a few tears escaped. I wondered if I should tell Zach about what Cole told me today. Zach still had a lot of love for his sister, especially now that he was going to be a father. I wasn't sure what Zach would do, so I decided to wait till the day of our family dinner. On the day of the dinner, I went to my in-laws' house with a little bit of nervousness. My hormones were all over the place, and I prayed that I wouldn't attack Sarah once I saw her. I was in Mama Bear mode, and the thought of someone hurting my child sent me into a rage. Zach could tell that something was up. He asked me multiple times if I was okay, but I told him that we would talk after dinner. Very unsurprisingly, Sarah and Cole both came for dinner. Sarah was excitedly telling her mom how she was trying a new recipe and made cupcakes for everyone to try. I stayed quiet and stopped myself from beating the shit out of her. Cole also kept looking at me with worried eyes. After dinner, Sarah presented us all with her special cupcakes. They were rather large cupcakes with a generous amount of buttercream on top. It was so big that she had to serve it on plates. She smirked at me when she handed me my plate. She also kept a plate for herself and went to the kitchen to get a fork. Yes, she eats her cupcakes with forks. When she left, I immediately swapped my plate with hers. No one noticed it. Not even Cole. They were busy appreciating the beautiful cupcakes. Sarah came back and we all had the cupcakes. Sarah made a face when she had hers. She immediately looked at me while I smiled sweetly at her. I said, "Is something wrong, Sarah? You don't look too happy with your cupcake. I must say that it is delicious. We all know what a good baker you are. You have outdone yourself." "I know how good my skills are, Jean. You don't have to patronize me. I can tell by looking at everyone that they enjoyed my treat. You are the one who didn't clean your plate." "Oh, you used a lot of chocolate, Sarah. You know it contains caffeine, right? I already had a small bar of chocolate before I came here. I don't want to overdose." "Jean's right, Sarah. Cupcake is good, but she shouldn't be eating it all today. We can't risk hurting the baby." "Sorry about that, Sarah, but by all means finish your cupcake, Sarah. It would be sad to waste such a nice cupcake. I will take mine home and finish it tomorrow." Sarah looked really mad at me and dropped the issue. She reluctantly finished her own cupcake, even though she knew that she had eaten the wrong one by mistake. But she wasn't sure if I was the one who swapped it. Sarah was clever. She added a lot of chocolate and sugar so that the bitterness of the medicines could be reduced. Still, somehow, she could taste it on her cupcake. With her plan failing, she went home early, mad and upset. I was glad that I was able to save myself before anything happened. When we went back home, Zach immediately asked me what was wrong with me today. He said, "You said that you'll tell me what's bothering you. Now that we're home, I don't see why we can't discuss this now." "Zach, I really want to tell you, but I don't know how you'll react to this." "What is it, Jean? I promise I'll stay calm. There's no way I would do or say anything to affect my pregnant wife." "Zach, your sister tried to make me lose our baby. She laced my cupcake with aspirin tablets. Cole told me her plan last night. I avoided taking the cupcake by swapping her plate with mine. Since it's just aspirin, I let Sarah eat her own special cupcake." "What the hell are you saying, Jean? There is no way this is true. I know my sister has been very mean towards you, but she would never do this. This has to be a joke, Jean." Zach and I argued for a long time. I even asked him to talk to Cole and verify the facts. Zach had a hard time believing that Sarah would do something so horrible and twisted. He was in complete disbelief. Just as I was going to call Cole for verification, he called us instead. He seemed panicked and told us to meet him at the hospital. Apparently, Sarah had to be admitted. We rushed to the hospital and found Sarah lying on a bed, crying her eyes out. Even Cole had tears in his eyes and was crying in a corner. When we asked him what happened, Cole started to get really mad. "You want to know what happened? What I told Jean was exactly what happened. Sarah laced Jean's cupcake with medicines to make her lose the child. At the family dinner, Sarah accidentally ate the cupcake made for Jean. Sarah was pregnant and didn't know. We have lost the child due to her psychotic planning." "What? Sarah, is this true?" "Jean told me everything, but I refuse to believe her. Tell me this is not true, Sarah." Don't stay quiet. I want answers. Did you try to hurt my child? What will she say, Zach? I don't think she's mentally in the right place to accept her wrongs. Hearing me speak, Sarah started to rage at me. She started to scream and hurl insults at me and the baby in my belly. The things she said were so vile that I cannot put them here. I am sure it will offend and traumatize you guys just like me. The venom Sarah spewed shocked me, Zach and Cole equally. But I didn't have to say anything back. They were quick to step in for me. They said, "You have some nerve talking about my wife and child like that, Sarah. I cannot believe how evil you have become. You are sick and out of your mind, Sarah. I made a mistake by ever allowing you back in my life. I simply wanted my child to have his aunt in his life, but now I see that I invited a monster." Shut up, Zach. Just shut up. I have had enough of you and your wife talking about the baby. I'm sick of it. I never wanted to be in your damn baby's life. I hate him. And I hate your wife. She should have lost the child, not me. How dare you, Sarah? How dare you blame Jean for this? This is all your fault. We lost our baby because of your fault. I warned you, begged you not to do this. You didn't listen to me. Did you expect to get away without consequences after planning something so horrible? I was right to do what I did. I wanted to end that child. I'm older and should have been pregnant first. She had no right to steal that from me. I hate her, and I hate her damn baby. If only I had been careful, it would have been her on this bed. You will pay for this, Jean. I will destroy you for killing my child. You must be truly delusional to still blame me for what you did. Had you not made a laced cupcake for me, this wouldn't have happened. It's the universe's way of punishing you for what you tried to do to me. Karma is truly there. No, this is all your fault. I know you must have done something. I made sure you got the laced cupcake. I made sure you would lose the baby. Yes, Sarah, you did everything you could to make me lose my child. Unfortunately for you, Cole told me your plan. At today's dinner, I swapped my plate with yours. I had no idea that you were pregnant, and I am guessing neither did you. After hearing this, Sarah started to scream at me again. She actually tried to get out of bed and lunge at me. Cole caught her and kept her on the bed. Sarah didn't realize that she had confessed to her own evil plans. Zach was furious and said, "That's it, Sarah. I loved you and wanted my child to have an aunt. I got carried away with my emotions and let you around my wife and child again. I had no idea you would go this far to satisfy your ego. What Jean did to you was an accident, but what you did was intentional. There is no way I am ever allowing you in our life again. I am freaking done with you. Cole, I'm sorry, man, but you should really start reevaluating your engagement." You know what, guys? I don't have to think about this anymore. After today, I want nothing to do with you, Sarah. This engagement and relationship are both off. You can keep the ring. I won't stay with anyone who's so hell-bent on ruining others. You are leaving me, Cole? This is Jean's fault that I lost our child. It was your fault that you leaked my plan to her. You are equally responsible for me losing my child. How the hell is Cole responsible, Sarah? He tried to stop you multiple times. You are the one who didn't listen. And don't accuse Jean. She is not some psycho who goes around casually plotting to kill babies. You are the one who did this and got trapped in your own plan. Cole, I support your decision to leave my sister. You can move in with us if you need to be away from her. We don't mind. Cole immediately accepted Zach's offer and decided to stay with us for the time being. He was so disgusted with Sarah that he didn't want to be around her anymore. My in-laws came to see Sarah and were given all the sordid details of what transpired. They were horrified to know that their daughter had turned into a psychopath. They supported us, but also decided to take in Sarah at least until she got back on her feet. We made sure that my in-laws would stay with Sarah and then left. In the next few days, there was radio silence from Sarah. My in-laws gave her a stern talk and threatened to kick her out if she didn't keep her mouth shut. They didn't want her to disturb me since she was making some nasty threats towards me. At the end of 2 weeks, they were forced to get her admitted to a psych ward. Apparently, some of Sarah's friends got to know that story and contacted my in-laws to share more tales of Sarah going mad at them and doing nasty stuff. My in-laws finally realized that something was wrong with Sarah and got her admitted to a facility. But Sarah dropped out by herself within a week and threatened them for putting her there. My in-laws were then forced to call the police and get her taken away. They are heartbroken and don't want anything to do with her anymore. Now, let's get on to some good news. I gave birth to a healthy baby boy very recently. The stress from Sarah made me and Zach really anxious till the birth of our son. Things have cooled down now, so I have decided to post the story. Cole is also doing okay and has moved to a place nearby. We have allowed him to meet our child since he has become a friend now. Sarah doesn't contact us anymore since we put a restraining order against her. We used all the evidence from her texts and witness reports from Cole to get the order done. Since Sarah cannot contact us, she posts as her parents sometimes. But my in-laws refuse to enable her anymore and are keeping her out of their lives for good. Hello, my name's Gigi and I'm 29 years old. My husband, Saul, and I just became new homeowners, and yeah, I know what you might be thinking. Owning a house in this economy? At that age? How did you do that? Well, I wish I could tell you that it was all a matter of hard work, but it actually was a gift that my husband's grandfather, Robbie, gave to us. But my mother-in-law, Jen, who was staying with us, had a lot to say about it, and that did not go so well for her. Before I tell you my story, I feel like it's important to give you a little backstory about my husband's family and how we came to be in a relationship. For starters, I have an awesome relationship with Saul's recently retired grandfather. Yes, grandfather. His name is Robbie. Robbie had single-handedly raised Saul's mother, Jen. His wife had died during childbirth and he loved her too much to even find anyone else. He has admitted to Saul and me that he felt bad that Jen never got to have a mother, so he spoiled her senselessly. Robbie is a pretty wealthy man. He comes from family wealth and he's never afraid to splurge on the people he loves. So when I say that Jen was spoiled when she was growing up, I mean it. Jen always got what she wanted, and that attitude carried on into adulthood because Robbie could never say no to her. Jen had gotten pregnant when she was 17. The father ran away because he wanted nothing to do with the child, and Jen never revealed who the father was either. Robbie was not thrilled that she got pregnant, but ultimately decided that he would stand by her regardless of whatever decision she made. When she had Saul, she cared for him for a year or so and ultimately decided that a child weighed her down too much. She left him in Robbie's care. Robbie was upset that his daughter was not following through with her responsibilities. At the same time, he was glad he got to have a second chance at raising a child. He was a little more strict with Saul. He still spoiled Saul, but not to the same extent that he had done for Jen. Saul had always considered Robbie to be his dad because he was the one who raised him. Saul's mom, Jen, had disappeared to some college somewhere and then worked someplace also for the next 10 years. And when she came back, she tried to insert herself in Saul's life as his mom. Saul didn't like it, but he didn't oppose her because he had heard of how stubborn she was with getting the things she wanted. When it came time to move to college, Saul moved out and Robbie supported him. It was at college that I met Saul. We met because we had friends in the same circles and we just clicked instantly. It didn't take long for us to start dating, and if I really recall correctly, after 6 months of dating, Saul introduced me to Robbie. Robbie and I got along really well, and I was happy that Saul had such a positive influence in his life. The one person who did not like me was, you guessed it, Jen. Now, after about a year of dating, Sol decided that we should meet his mom because he wanted to introduce me to her. I have a pretty deadly peanut allergy, so Sol informed her in advance. When we got to her place, she barely looked my way or even talked to me. The only time she did was when it was time to eat. She had this evil look in her eye that made me feel a little on edge, but I ignored it. Just as I was about to put a spoonful of food in my mouth, Sol literally leapt off his seat and knocked the spoon out of my hand. What the hell? Why'd you do that? It has peanuts in it. Jen, what were you trying to do? I told you she's allergic. Oh, come on. It's just a peanut allergy. She needs to grow up. Are you stupid? Excuse me? That's no way to talk to your mother. Apologize now. Why the hell should I? You almost killed Gigi. There's no need to make such a big deal about this. It's a tiny allergy, right, Gigi? Actually, no. I almost did die on multiple occasions just from cross-contamination. Ugh, what a child. Dad, tell Sol to apologize to me for disrespectfully talking to me. Absolutely not. Sol asked you not to do one thing, and that's exactly what you did. To top it off, you're still ignoring the fact that you could have killed the girl. Why did you do that? You want to know? Fine. I don't like her. But you don't even know her. Yeah, but she's taking my son away from me, and I don't like that. So, why don't you and Gigi head out? Here's some cash. Go get yourself some good non-deathly lunch. I'll speak to Jen. I was shaken up. Never in my life had anyone wanted to outright kill me. And to hear Jen say that she didn't like me just like that? Wow, that hurt. Sol was furious at Jen, and once he cooled down, he apologized to me over and over again. Of course, I didn't need him to apologize to me because he did nothing wrong. Still, after that, two things happened. First, Sol stopped speaking to her. He cut off all contact with her. Second, Robbie cut off financial support for Jen. He kicked her out of his house and told her to live by herself. I was sure that that only would have made her hate me more, but I realized that I wouldn't have to see her again until absolutely necessary, so I didn't mind. After that, life went back to normal for Sol and me. Once a month, we would go out to either lunch or dinner with Robbie, and that was about all the contact we had with Sol's family. Sol and I knew that we were the ones for each other, yet we decided to wait until we were both financially stable enough to get married. When we finally got engaged, we waited for another year and a half to plan out our details of our wedding. When it came time to send out invites, we debated sending one to Jen, but in the end, we still sent her one. I will admit we were glad to see that she hadn't RSVP'd us. I guess Jen hated me way too much to attend her own son's wedding. Anyway, it was still a grand time for Sol and I. Robbie had been too busy traveling around the world to attend our wedding. We didn't mind that because honestly, that man deserved it. He worked super hard all his life and he raised not only his daughter but his grandson too. When he finally came back, he told us that he had a surprise for us. Sol and I were excited because we were expecting Robbie to give us some souvenirs or even some snacks or candies from the countries he visited. Robbie told us to come over to his place for dinner one night. Dinner with Robbie is always a good time. He told us all about his little adventures on his trip. Sol and I were a mess of tears from laughing too hard. Finally, after dinner, Robbie decided to reveal his surprise to us. He placed a pair of keys in front of Sol and I. We looked at him in confusion. "What's this about, Papa?" "These are the keys to your new house." "What? Are you being serious?" "As serious as a heart attack." But why?" "I wasn't able to attend your wedding, and I didn't give you a wedding gift either." "So you bought us a house?" "I couldn't think of a better gift. Am I wrong?" "No, although I will say you are one unhinged man." "Ha, that's the truth." Thanks a lot, Papa. Of course, although there is one small hiccup. What is it? Well, Jen has been running low on finances and she reached out to me about helping her out. I told her I'd put up with her one last time, but if she does or says anything out of line, she's going to get thrown out. Oh, so I'll have to meet Mom? Yeah, and put up with her for another 3 months. Uh-oh. I know, it's not the most ideal, but she'll stay with you guys for a little while. She promised me she'll be on her best behavior, so I don't think there'll be too much to worry about. All right, that's doable. Robbie had done us a huge favor by buying us a house. We could use the money we usually spend on rent to save up even more, so it felt really wrong to tell him that we wouldn't want Jen staying with us. I sensed how skeptical Saul was too, and it made me feel better that I wasn't the only one who wasn't feeling too good about the arrangement. Robbie went on to explain to us that he was going to be visiting a friend for a while next month and that he had allowed his other friend's son to stay at his place until he came back, which was why he couldn't put Jen up himself. Which was fair, but still, Saul and I decided to move in as soon as possible because we wanted to at least have some time in our new house before Jen came over. Robbie also was there with us while we moved in. He helped us settle in and as best he could. He let us get used to our new place for a week before telling us that Jen was going to move in the day after the next. I was queasy with nerves. The last time I saw Jen, she tried to give me an anaphylactic shock. I did not want to live with her. It would be exhausting to constantly be on guard in my own home. But I guess it was one small price to pay for a beautiful house that was our own. Robbie was with us when Jen brought all her stuff with her. We planned to have dinner together, so I spent most of the day just cooking and preparing. It was a great way to expend my nervous energy. Jen happily greeted Saul and asked him a bunch of questions about himself while she just ignored me altogether. When we walked into the house, Jen looked around for a while before deciding to talk. What a house! I know, right? Which one of you earns more money? Gigi. Why does that matter? First of all, that's embarrassing. You need to earn more than her. Secondly, this is an ugly house. Excuse me? Mom, that's unnecessary. I can see that you guys really struggled to buy this place. It really is the ugliest place I've stepped foot in. That's really rude to say, especially when you'll be living here because we let you. I know, it's a shame that this is where I have to live until I move. You're being very hypocritical. At least we were able to afford a house. You can't even afford to rent a place. You only talk back this way to me because of your wife. If it wasn't for her, you'd have been worshipping the ground I walked on. There's something seriously wrong with you. Okay, that's enough. Let's just get on with dinner. Robbie must not have told Jen that he was the one who bought the house for us. When Jen called the house ugly, I saw Robbie's expression harden, and then she went on to say a lot more stuff, and Robbie looked like he was ready to throw her out. I have to admit that Jen calling our new house ugly hurt. The funniest part was that Saul was the one who was in charge of the interior decorating, and he did a fantastic job at it. If she had known that, I doubt she would have said any of the things that she said. And to hear her insult me again was no fun either. It was kind of sad that I was prepared for it, though. She constantly mocked me and insulted me because she always thought that I had taken her son away from her. But I guess she just never realized that her son was avoiding her for the longest time. He just started speaking up because her actions and words began to affect me. Dinner was awkward. Saul and Robbie seemed majorly ticked off from the previous interaction with Jen. And Jen did not seem to pick up on the vibes because she went on to keep trash-talking the house. At some point, though, it just got so funny to me. The fact that she didn't know anything and here she was openly slamming her father and her son. After dinner, Jen told us that she was jet lagged, which is very funny because she literally flew over from one state over where there's no difference in time zone, and retreated to her room. At that point, Robbie, Sol, and I made our way over to the den where we discussed what had just happened. Well, that was terrible. I swear, if she wasn't my mother, I would have had some very choice words to say. Did you not tell her that you bought this house for us, Robbie? I didn't see why I had to, but I guess that worked in my favor because I got to see if she was going to be any different, which she won't. It's going to be rough living with her. But it'll be okay. It's only another 3 months. She'll be out of our hair before you know it. Hell no, I'm not letting you guys live with a monster like that. The only reason I made this arrangement was because she begged me for a whole month to help her out and promised me over and over again that she had changed. I see no change in her, and I don't want to help her out anymore. Oh, wow. So are you just going to kick her out? Yeah, I don't think it would be that easy. Remember the tantrum she threw when you cut her off financially before? She will not leave this house that easily. I think that issue can be solved pretty easily. We'll just change all the locks in the house so she won't be able to get back in. But she doesn't have her set of keys yet? I've got them right here. Just give them to her tomorrow morning before you guys head to work. I know she'll want to go out and meet some friends. When she gets back, she'll be stuck outside till you come back. That should teach her a lesson. It was nice to have Robbie side with us. If there was one thing that Robbie absolutely hated, it was being ungrateful. That was literally Jen's entire personality. Robbie had tried his hardest to discipline that out of her, but she just never seemed to learn. The next day, I took a day off so I could be there to watch over the locks getting changed. I pretended that I was going out to work in the morning and handed Jen her set of keys. She smirked at me and asked me if I was happy that she would be staying with me. I told her that she was family, so I was more than happy to be able to help her out. She then told me that she was going to make my life hell, and that if I had the audacity to complain to her father about her behavior, she would get in the way of my marriage. I was so close to telling her about the plan because Jen really knew how to get on people's nerves, but I kept my mouth shut and just let Jen say what she wanted to. In the end, I knew that I would be the one who won. I left the house that morning and just drove around for a while. I kept checking and reviewing our security footage to see if Jen left, and about 2 hours after I left the house, she stepped out. I wasn't sure about how long she'd be out, so I contacted the number Robbie had given me and asked the person to get to my place as quickly as possible. I raced home too. By the time I got back home, the person who was going to change the locks was also there. While he busied himself with the locks, I got to packing Jen's stuff. She spent the entire night unpacking her things, but it still took a fairly short amount of time to repack everything. I set her bags outside the main door and along with them attached a copy of the house deed which outlined in it the owner of the house and the buyer of the house. While Saul and I were listed as owners, Robbie was listed as the buyer. Once the man was done changing the locks, he handed me the new keys and left. I quickly got out of the house and drove to a nearby cafe where I kept a keen eye on the security footage. I couldn't wait to see Jen's reaction to everything. It took about another 2 hours for Jen to return. She saw her bags out front and looked around in confusion. She tried to open the door, but that didn't work. She began to get frustrated as she kept trying to unlock the door. When her frustration reached its peak, she began kicking the door. I didn't know what she thought she would accomplish, but it sure was funny as hell to watch her struggle. Eventually, she gave up and sat on the bench outside the door. She looked at her bags and finally saw the note attached to it. The security footage was grainy, but I swear I could see her eyes widen as she understood what the paper said. She looked around as if to see if someone might come out and talk to her, but there was no one. She went and sat back down on the bench and put her head in her hands. She looked like a woman that had lost it all. She picked up her phone and called Robbie, but he never picked up her calls again. She tried Saul, and finally she tried me. I debated picking up the call, but eventually my curiosity got the better of me and I picked it up. "Hey, Jen, is everything okay?" "Don't play stupid. You know what you did." "Huh? What are you talking about?" "You tricked me." "I'm really going to need you to start making sense here. I have to get back to work." "You knew that my father bought the house. Yet you never told me about it. You just watched as I said what I said while my father was right there." "Why did you even have to say those things? Even if you thought that I bought the house, shouldn't you have been grateful that I was opening my house to you?" "Shut up. My son would have made sure that I stayed with you." "I don't know what kind of warped perception you have about Saul, but I can assure you he was even less thrilled about you staying with us than me. If anything, he was the one who was ready to throw you out first." "I don't care about that. I'm homeless now, and you have to fix it." "Robbie did his best to provide for you. You bit the hand that fed you, and now you have to face the consequences. I will make sure you regret doing this to me." "If you keep that attitude up, you're not going to get anywhere. Goodbye." It felt so good to finally be able to tell Jen what was on my mind. The woman had it coming for her. She wouldn't have to be a part of our lives anymore, and I was beyond happy about that. Thankfully, Jen left our house without much of a fuss. When Robbie and Saul came over later on in the evening, I replayed the footage back to them and told them about my call with Jen. We shared a hearty laugh together, although Robbie did tell us that he was really disappointed in the way that Jen turned out. I did feel Robbie's pain. I mean, I wouldn't know how to react if my child turned out anything like Jen. But I was also happy that Robbie had set his foot down on Jen. There was only one way to teach spoiled brats a lesson, and that was to take away their privileges. It will be a tough road for Jen, but hopefully she'll learn her lesson, and in time, Saul and I could actually have a decent relationship with her. It's been about 6 months since all of this has happened, and Saul and I are living very happily in our new house. We've been saving up a lot of money, and we're planning on starting a family soon. Robbie is having the time of his life, traveling to various places, and we're happy that he's managed to occupy his time well. Although, whenever he is in town, he makes sure to stay with us, and like always, those times are amazing. If there's one thing I've learned throughout all of this, it was to learn from Robbie's mistakes. I don't want a child like Jen, and I will make sure that my child is raised to be a decent human being. Thanks for listening.